Hello. A bit of an unusual start to my video today because I wanted to have a quick chat about what I was going to be making, because it's a bit different to how I usually do things. I was lucky enough a few weeks ago to have an email from a member of staff at HunkyDory asking me if I would like to review some of their products on my blog. And of course I jumped at the chance to have a try of some of their newer products. So I thought I'd disclose right from the start I was allowed to choose some products to review, and I decided that I wanted to try to use things that I would normally like to use, so things that I could use for journaling, mixed media, and were along the sorts of themes that I really enjoy. So I thought I'd start off just by showing you what I chose and what I've just been sent today, and then I will follow up with the video, which will be my usual speeded up with some music, but also with a voiceover to explain what I was doing and to tell you about the products as I'm using them. Of course, I had to have some stamps. So for the love of stamps is the HunkyDory brand. I started off by choosing this set of stamps here. It's called Tattered Trims, and it's part of the All of a Flutter range. I chose this one because I thought it would be great for backgrounds. It's got some script, it's got some grungy circles, but it's also got some beautiful butterflies. It's got these that will make fantastic backgrounds in journals and in mixed media, and I thought some of them would be good for stamping into embossing powder as well. So I'll be able to show you some different things with those in my project. Then I wanted, because these were very much a background stamp, I wanted another set of stamps that would be brilliant for the foreground and for focal images, but also have some sentiments on. Because I'd already picked the butterfly theme, and because I love butterflies in every shape and form in my crafting, I chose this set called Butterfly Wishes, which has got a selection of different beautiful butterflies, but ones that I thought would be quite easy to cut out, because I do tend to do that a lot. It's got this beautiful flourish, another one of my favourite things, and some really nice sentiments that could go for any occasion. So we've got Make Every Moment Count, Sending Butterfly Wishes, You Are Beautiful, and One of a Kind. Then I also wish to have some stenciling. So I went for a stencil that I felt was quite generic in that it could be used in so many different projects. It's called Distressed Dots, and it's part of the Timeless Treasures collection in For the Love of Masks by HunkyDory. And I liked it because it's dots, but it's got lots of different sorts of shapes of dots. So it's not straightforward circles, which of course I really do love in my crafting as well, but it's got some sort of more distressed look as well there. And then finally, I saw these and I really wanted to have a little try of these. I hadn't seen them before, so they will be a new product to me, although I do have brushos currently in my crafting stash, which I do on occasion use. So I think they're the same sort of product, but they have a pearlescence to them, whereas my brushos are very much a straightforward colour. These do have a shine to them. And I picked the set of colours that I felt went with the sort of vintagey style of the background and the distressed dots, and would go really nicely with the stamps and stencil. And I thought I would try within my project that I'm going to do for you to use these in a number of different ways to really test them out, to have a really good play with them. And I will be using my Dina Wakley journal, which HunkyDory didn't send me, I already have, and I will be creating an art journal spread. I love this size of journal. It's 6 by 6. It's not too big, but it's not too small if you're using the double page spread. It's a really, really thick watercolour paper. So I have already coated it with some clear gesso because I want to see how well the powders will flow when I add the water to them. So that's just a little introduction to explain the video that I'm doing today, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so this is where I'm actually going to give the voiceover for the project that I created. If you want more information about the products that I used and what I thought of them, you can link to my blog through the description box underneath the video. Okay, so I started off by using some of the prism powders. I decided to poke some holes into the foil lid at the top to try to sprinkle them out so that I didn't put too much on the paper. I put some water onto the paper to start with, and then I sprinkled the first colour, which was the sepia colour, and as you can see it splits into lots of different colours. I then used some of the burgundy to add some more different colours to the spread. I'm now drying off what I put on, because I did spritz quite a lot of water over the top to get the pigments to move about a bit more. I had a little bit on the edge that didn't have enough colour on for my liking, so I sprinkled a little bit more of the sepia. And as the colours were drying, I noticed that some of the gold pearlescence from the sepia in particular really started to shine through. I'll try to show you some of that gold colour. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up very well. So this is the Tattered Trims set, and I've chose the corner script to use with some archival ink sepia. It doesn't show up very well on the camera as it does in real life, because it is a very textured watercolour paper, and all I'm trying to do is create a background, so I want a hint of the text to make some texture for me. I focus in on the edge, sort of going in a triangular way into the centre. And sometimes I use the second generation as well, just to make a more faded look. I wanted a little bit more of a more solid shape across the middle, so I went for I think it was the plum archival, and I wanted to go with the flow of the pigments that I put across the centre of the page. I wanted to recreate that with my stamping. Also wanted to add some onto those white areas to make them really stand out. Now, as everything had been going across the page horizontally, I wanted to add some little vertical elements, so I chose the lovely butterfly border that's in the same set. This time I chose the red geranium archival ink. When you're using a block in your journal, as I discovered today, you have to be a bit careful when you're going towards the centre, because the ridge in the centre of the journal made it quite tricky to actually get a good impression at times. Now this is where I got out my mask for my distress dots. I'm using some clear modelling paste from Deco Art, and I'm using the sepia mica powder, so I've just lifted the corner of the pot off there, because I don't want to have it totally open, because obviously that's going to have much more potential for spillages. So I'm just taking a little bit on my bone folder there and mixing it in with the clear embossing powder. And what you'll see is when you're mixing it in with something like water or texture paste, you don't get that split of colour, you get a solid colour. And the colour that comes through when I'm using it this way is very much a sort of a deep chocolatey brown with a hint of that gold still coming through. Again, I'm not really worried about taping down my mask or anything like that. I'm making a background in my journal. I'm not really too worried if I get some spilling over. Once that had dried, I wanted a little bit more of the gold, so I used a bit of acrylic gold paint through the stencil as well to sort of echo the flashes of gold that were coming from the pigment powders. Again, it's really tricky to see anything sort of sparkly or shiny on camera or video, but hopefully you'll get the idea. I had a little bit of paint left sort of still on the stencil, so what I did was I really scrubbed it with my stencil brush, which is quite a sturdy one, just to make a really faint impression. Now at this point I decided I wanted to add a bit more stamping, and after I'd done this I decided I didn't actually like it, but you'll see in a little while how I rectified that. Now I wanted to make my focal images with the butterflies, so I'd already mixed up each of the powders, so that's the Radiant Rose, the Burgundy and the Sepia, with some water in a palette, so it's now become more of a watercolour paint. And I spritzed my card and I made a watery background. This was on watercolour card, by the way, and that's why I'm now drying the back as well, because it will naturally start to curl. I then sprinkled some bits of water over the background. Because it is a watercolour based product, you can do all the same sorts of techniques you would use with any other watercolour products. The video froze there, I'm not sure why. I'm now going to stamp my butterflies, so I chose 3 different sizes, so like a large, a medium and a small butterfly. And I used an anti-static bag because after I use my VersaFine ink, I'm going to use clear embossing powder over the top to seal in the ink. The reason I do this quite a lot is because I'm never always certain what colouring products I'm going to use to colour my images. As it happens, I didn't use any with this in the end, but if I am going to use either alcohol based or water based, if they're sealed in with the embossing powder, it's not going to matter which ones I choose. I'm just going to cut one out on camera for you because I didn't think you'd want to see me cut out lots of butterflies. After I'd done this one, I actually stamped some more and cut them all out ready for the final part of the video. I really left this in just to show you that although they are butterflies, and you know, you do need to take a little bit of time cutting them out, they're fairly simple shapes. They're not ultra fussy. So here we are, all my butterflies. You'll see now in the background on my page that I rectified my earlier stamping that I didn't like by using a piece of cambric, which is like a more stable form of gauze. I cut it into 2 pieces and I coloured it with some of the prism powders with some water and sort of squished it in with my fingers. The lovely thing about the cambric is it gives you a nice frayed edge that doesn't go too mad, and also when you dry it, it sort of keeps its shape a lot better than gauze does. So I did that and I stuck it into 2 pieces across the page, so it covered up the stamping I didn't like, and I actually really liked the texture that it gave across the middle of the page as well. And I stamped out one of the sentiments onto the same piece of watercoloured card that I used for the butterflies, and then I'm using glue gel because I like to add a bit of dimension, and I find it gives a really good stick. So thank you very much for watching. If you click in the link in the description box over to my blog, you can see some more projects I also made with these stamp sets. And if you enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you would like it, and if you haven't already, if you could subscribe, that would be fab. Thanks for watching, see you next time.